from Melbourne, Australia. Hope you're doing fine. Tonight, I want to talk to Emily Boutard, who was born in Australia in 1987. She's a lawyer who works in the environment and planning law, as well as a self-taught model maker and administrator. Little Architecture is the name of her miniature adventure. She builds tiny things, then shares photos on Instagram. She also writes tutorials for her website so people can make their own tiny things, just like hers. She started with a scale model of the prefabricated colonial house used by settlers in Australia and California in the early 800s. She is currently working on a Jacobean manor house. Let's go and talk to her on Instagram. Thank you. Hello, Emily. How you doing?
I'm good. Good intro. I like.
Oh, sorry?
That was a good intro.
Thank you, thank you. I'm so happy you are here tonight, and thank you very much for accepting having a conversation with me on my Instagram. So I would like to take you back to the, oh, sorry, before anything else, do you want to say hi to those who are watching us right now, or maybe later?
Me, I never put photos of myself up, so people probably don't know what I look like.
There you go. All right. So, Emily, I would like to take you back to the years before you started working as a administrator. Why did you choose to do this? I'm more interested to know about the connection between yourself and the work you do as a model maker. What's the things you love about it?
Well, I always liked little tiny things. So when I was a child, I collected small things. And I was obsessed with the idea of small worlds, and I used to make little dioramas and things. So I was always interested in this sort of thing. And I've always collected miniature things, but I only started making miniature things a couple of years ago.
Okay, so I want to know more about the connection between what you're doing and your work. And could you please put the volume a little bit down, please? Thank you.
Is that better?
Yeah. Okay, so tell me about the connection. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, tell me about the connection between you and what, I want to know, why do you love doing this?
It's a hard question. I think everybody loves little things. I think when people look at them, they go, oh, that's so cool. When you see a small chair, for example, I'll show you one here. There's a tiny chair.
Okay.
And so when you look at that, you think that's really cool. People look at them and they think they're beautiful objects. And so I think there's a fascination with small things, and that's kind of it for me. It's not very complicated, really. So I really love anything tiny, but I also use making miniatures as a really good way to explore different styles of architecture. So I've made, you can see from my Instagram feed that I've made miniatures from the modernist period. And I've also made miniatures from the 18th century, from the 19th century. So I use it as a way to learn more about that period of art or architecture. So when I'm going to make a miniature, I do a lot of research, and I'll read lots of books about it, and I'll learn a lot about it, and then I'll make the miniature.
Okay, yeah. We'll get there, because it's very important actually to know how and what's the story behind the things you're making. So how did you start making miniatures, and what was the first project that you did?
Well, I started collecting miniatures first. So I collected miniatures that other people had made or factory made furniture, tiny things. But then I would want to explore a different period of or architectural style, and I wouldn't be able to find any miniatures in that particular style. And so then I thought, well, I guess I'll just have to make them myself. So the first things I made weren't very good. They were quite bad. And so, but I just was persistent with it, and I learned new skills slowly. And so I've gotten much, much better, but it's taken quite a few years.
What was that project? What was your first project you were working on?
The first project I worked on that I made myself was a Victorian house. So it's sort of an American style Victorian house, because I think when people think about doll houses, they think of a Victorian house.
Okay, why?
It's kind of the archetypal doll house. It's got a tower, you know, and it looks like a little haunted house maybe. And so I started with one of those, and there's a lot of miniatures that are that style. So that was easy to collect for. But then I moved into a tiny apartment, and I decided to make smaller miniatures, because there's lots of different scales of miniatures you can make. So the most popular scale is 1/12, which is, this is an example of a 1/12 scale miniature.
Okay.
And then the next popular scale is 1/24.
Oh my God, that's very difficult.
A little bit. And so I moved into a small apartment, and I needed a smaller dollhouse. If that sounds funny, but so I decided to make it in this scale rather than that one, because a dollhouse in this scale can be quite big. It can be the size of a wardrobe, quite large. So I don't think of this as being large, but they can be. So I wanted a smaller dollhouse, so I made it in this scale. But it's hard to find furniture in this scale, and so that's why I just started making my own. And so it really went from there.
Okay, so you use your tiny objects to explore a particular style of architecture and design. And in your biography, you said you want to understand better. What do you want to understand better?
Well, you learn a lot about the style by actually exploring it and making it yourself. So, for example, I learned when I made modernist furniture that modernist furniture is actually very simply built. It's got flat planes. There's no complicated curves, really. It's kind of like flat pack IKEA furniture. And so it was very easy to build modernist furniture. So, for example, I've got a little modernist sideboard here.
Oh my God! Can you bring it a little bit closer?
I don't know if it will.
Wow.
But so this is a little modernist sideboard, but you can see it's just flat planes. It's not curvy. And so from a maker's perspective, that's easy to make than say something like this, which is very curved and complex. And so you realize that modern furniture is made for to be machine made, and furniture from the 18th or 19th century that was made that was complicated, and it was expensive, and people would spend a lot of money on it to show how much money they had. And where modern times people made things with machines. So you can see that the change in human history and social history affects furniture. And I only learned because I made all these little things, and I thought they're really easy to make when they're new. And so compared to the other stuff, I don't know, it's nuanced, but yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, and also can be very challenging.
Yes. I get very frustrated with it sometimes. There's a chair that I've broken lots of times, and I keep on putting it back together, and then someone stepped on it the other day.
No.
Yeah. I heard it crunch and I was like, oh no, because it had fallen off the desk. It got stepped on.
No, no.
I haven't put it back together yet, but you have to be very patient.
Of course, of course. So also in your biography, you mentioned making the objects is also part of pleasure. So most people don't appreciate how much thought is required to put pieces together so they look realistic and beautiful. Tell me about that.
Well, putting things together can be quite complicated, and sometimes you have to plan it. So I've got an example here. It's a little chair, a little desk chair.
You bring it closer. You can see it. Okay.
Can you see that?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And so this is a little desk chair, and the base of the desk chair is made of wire. So this is metal. But this is wood. So it's shaped wood.
Okay.
And then if you turn it around the back, you can see that's a little piece of brass that holds the back. You probably can't see that very well.
Yeah, no, I can. Yeah.
And so I don't know if anyone who's watching this has a little desk chair like this. This is kind of a modern style desk chair. But this was really complicated to make because it involved soldering the metal.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to spray paint it because it's black. And then I had to shape the wood. And then after shaping the wood, I had to stain and polish the wood. And then doing that, I had to fix it together. And it's really hard to find a type of glue that will glue metal to wood. I still haven't really found a good one. So
yeah, and you can't
trial and error.
I'm sorry, what was that?
It's a lot of trial and error.
Yes, and also you cannot make a mistake because if you break something, probably you have to start rebuild it.
Yeah, you have to build it again. I have a box here which is just broken stuff.
Okay.
That's all just broken things in there. So there's lots. Got to work hard and try and get it all. Yeah, you can make mistakes very easily, but you have to have patience, and it's taught me patience.
Definitely, sure, I agree. So what kind of materials do you usually use to make your work?
Well, I use wood a lot, but it's very fine wood. So these are some offcuts of wood.
Okay.
So you can see how tiny they are. And I use sheets of wood as well. I've got a piece here to show you. This is a sheet of modeling wood. It's not balsa wood. Most people think of balsa wood when they think of making things out of making models, but balsa wood's so soft you can't work with it. So this is a wood that's hard. So that's good. And it's got fine grain because you need fine grain in order to because otherwise if the grain's too big, you can't cut it properly. I also use styrene plastic. It's like a type of modeling plastic that people use to make model boats and stuff. So that's really good. And it comes in all shapes and sizes, so you can get strips of lots of different kinds. And I also use metal and sometimes just anything that I have lying around.
Okay, so but mainly use wood.
Yeah, wood I think would be the best because it's a beautiful material. It looks good as well. And it feels nice and it's easy to shape. Okay,
fair enough. So when you see marble in a real house, you will notice its shininess and you will easily recognize that it's a marble. But when you want to show it in a much smaller size, I think it will be much harder and it can be very challenging. Tell me about these things you usually struggle with.
Yeah, well, you'll look at a material in a normal size and actually when you make it small, it doesn't translate. So if you have a tiny piece of marble, it actually looks a bit more like soap than marble. And so there's this strange thing that materials do is that when they are in small sizes, the quality of material looks different. And it's a very nuanced thing that you only kind of work out after making miniatures for a very long time. But you can't always make something in the same material that the large object is made of.
Of course.
Yeah, so not just because it's difficult to make something tiny out of marble, but because it won't necessarily look right. And so there's a lot of trial and error involved in working out. So when I do marble, I usually polish wood and then I'll paint it in a fake marble grain, and then I'll put like a lacquer over it so it's shiny and it looks like marble. So
Right.
lots of tricks that miniaturists use to make, you know, materials translate.
But yeah, as I mentioned and as we know, so you're a self-taught artist. So you've been through a lot and you learned a lot and you're still learning probably. Am I right?
So much. I haven't fully mastered making molds and casting things in resin and metal. That's something that I want to learn. So, and that's a difficult skill. So lots of people are very good at that. So there's so many different skills that, you know, you kind of pick them up as you go. I did study architecture though. So I have a little bit of model making experience from my architecture degree. And what I learned about in architecture school was how to use 3D modeling software in order to produce an object that you would 3D print or that you laser cut. Mm-hmm. And so laser cutting and 3D printing is something that I definitely learned during my architecture degree. So I do have a few miniatures that I've laser cut. So
tell me about.
I've got this little Gothic mirror. So this little Gothic mirror, when you need to have very regular shapes, it's hard to do by hand. And so a laser cutter can help you there. And wow. I have this little fireplace here, which is pretty cute. A little Victorian fireplace. This was laser cut. And so what I'll do with this is I'll paint this and it'll look like marble. So it'll be like the beautiful Victorian fireplaces you see in so many terrace houses in Melbourne. I'm sure you're familiar with.
Very much so, yes.
Yeah.
We've got one here, but not very much similar.
Oh, they're out. That's sad. Actually, I have a finished one here. I'll show you. Here is a small room that I...
Oh my God, that's very interesting.
So, as you can see, there's a little finished fireplace here. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So there you go. I don't know if you can see that properly. But...
Yes, yes. Wow, that's very interesting. Wow. Okay, so I want to ask you a favor now. Would you like to give us a tour and take us to your workplace, if there's any project that you're working on, so we can see what you're doing, and please give us a tour. So, and you can reverse the camera and you can take us with you, but don't go so fast. Let's watch.
Yeah, nice and slowly. Okay. All right. So me in my lounge room, but I'm going to turn you around. You can see that my workshop is in my lounge room because I live in a small little apartment. So, all right, I've turned you around. So this is my, so if we zoom back, you can see my workshop.
Oh my.
I'm sitting there at a little seat. So this is my workshop. I have some shelves up there and they contain my tools and some projects that I've worked on in the past. I have my workspace here and a lovely lamp, which is very helpful. So I'll start over here with some of my miniatures that I keep on display because I think it's important to display your work. I'm just going to put the light there. I don't know if you probably can't see that very well, but so it's important to display your work.
Can you turn the light towards the miniatures?
I actually can't really turn the light that way, but
that's okay. Or if you go closer after you finish.
Maybe that's a bit better.
I get spit off. So
I have some furniture that I've Hang on a second, my lamp is just falling over. I have some furniture here that I've made and some furniture that I've collected. So you can see here that I've made this little bureau and little day couch. And here's some even smaller furniture. These were made from kits, so I didn't make them myself. And then that's a chair I made. And I have another little day bed here. And this is actually a little bird cage that I made. And that's the bird for the bird cage. It's a little finch. I don't know if you can see that. You see that? There's pictures of it on my Instagram, so if you want to see that. The foot broke off, so it's a bit crooked. Here's another modernist piece of furniture. This is a very modernist chair. You probably recognize that design. It's iconic. Now, I didn't make this. This one I collected, so I do collect some furniture. I also collect antique dollhouse furniture. So this one is pretty interesting because it's actually made from a wishbone. Can you see that?
Yes, that's very...
So this is a Victorian one. It's about from 1850, and it was made by some lady, probably. You can see that she's embroidered the silk seat there with the wishbone. It's pretty great. And so I have some Victorian chairs here. And these ones are very old. They're about 1840. So they, you talk about slave labor these days or child labor. Well, actually, these were made by little German children in the 1840s. So they're pretty interesting. Yeah. So, and then I have a dining set here, which is a modernist. I did make these ones. So that's a dining set. And I have a little Victorian style miner's couch. So that one's cute. And I have some more antique furniture here. So these ones are from Germany in the 1860s, probably. So
when you say you didn't make those, means like you collected them, or?
That's right. I collect antique dollhouse furniture. So these are very old and they're quite hard to find. So I bought them in Germany because for some reason Germany was the center of toy making in the world in the Victorian times. So I'm not sure exactly why that was. Anyway, so then I've got some even smaller little buildings that I've done here. This is a copy of a little house that's in the Geelong Gardens. So you can go to Geelong and see that little house. It's the oldest building in Victoria, actually. So that's why I did a copy of it, because I thought it was so cute. And this is like a little colonial style house. So I'll put my hand here so you can see the size. It's very small.
Wow.
Now, this one is a copy of a house from, I think that's Fitzroy North. So this is in Melbourne. This one's a copy of a house.
It's like an art deco.
Yeah. It's old and run down. You can see I tried to make it old and run down. I copied the photos. So, wow. And the little sign is rusted.
Wow.
It's very small.
How did you make the side look like the brick?
Well, actually, this is a cheat. I didn't paint that. I printed this on the printer, but I painted the front. So I did those details. So this is another colonial house, little model. And this is actually a bell tower from a Russian church, because I became really interested in Russian churches. And so I built a few models of Russian churches. And this is just another little folly. So that is the collection that I have on display. And so, hang on, I'll turn my lamp's upside down now, so I'm just going to turn it around. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
So this is the workspace. So this is where I make the tiny furniture. So I have some more tiny furniture here that I've set out for you to see.
Wow.
So,
look at them.
So this is a little lounge room. So there's a record player. Play some records. actually got a record here.
What?
Just laughing at that. There's a record in its sleeve.
Wow.
And there's the record player. And we've got some whiskey. And I have a real one here, though, so that you can see the scale. And that's the bedroom.
Wow. Wow.
And we got a cool Smeg fridge because they're really fashionable at the moment. I don't know if you've seen these, but I wanted to buy one, but I couldn't afford a real one. They're like really expensive, and so I made a miniature one. I wanted a miniature one. So, and then this is the kitchen, I guess, and then I've got the Smeg kettle that matches. I don't know if you've seen these, but they're in shops at the moment. They're really expensive.
Really?
Yeah. So sometimes when I really want something, I can't afford it. I make it in miniature. And and I also did a copy of my own workspace here. So
that's very interesting. That's where you are right now.
Yeah, exactly. So I've got, you can hear my cat in the background. I've got a little bottle of glue. And here's some little paintbrushes. Well, I'm not going to make them. They're going to fall down because I'm only using one hand. So I'm not very, there we go, some paintbrushes. And you can see here, there's a really tiny little chair. Can you see that?
Oh my God. No, I need a microscope probably.
Yeah. So there's the chair and there's a little cup here. Hang on, I'll move that. But there's my workspace in miniature. I've got a knife and some scissors and a tiny chair.
Wow.
So then if you zoom out from that one, you see the real one. There you go.
Oh my God. Oh my.
That's pretty fun.
What is that house? Hang on.
Yes, this is my current project. You said you wanted to learn about my current project.
Yeah. It's called Jacobean.
That's right. Jacobean is a style of architecture. So Jacobean architecture is around, it came after the Tudor period. So, you know, Henry VIII and all his wives. It was about in the next 100 years after Henry VIII and Elizabeth. So it's about, I probably get this wrong, but it's about 1600 to 1700, that kind of period. So this house is dated 1665. So I've got a little date plug here. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see 1665 there? Yeah. Now, maybe I'm being morbid, but I chose 1665 for a reason. Can you guess why I chose the year 1665?
No.
It's because it was the year that the plague struck London. And I thought, you know, it's appropriate to make a house during this period when we're all locked down and remember that it's happened before and we all survived. So, well, some people didn't, but
well, actually,
humanity continued.
It's very meaningful also. It's very meaningful.
It is. And so I chose to do a house from that year because I wanted to remember this 2020 as a pretty special and interesting year. Wow. So this is my house from 1665. It's not finished yet. I'm still working on it. It's got lovely Tudor chimneys. You can see that they were beautiful brick. And I stuck every individual brick down here. These were all done by hand, so that took a really long time. And the people who were following my Instagram, they'll see, they'll remember that I've been putting updates of that. I'm working on the windows at the moment, so these are a work in progress. So you can see that. So that's a little window. It will be a window. It doesn't have any glass in it yet. So So this dollhouse will have hinges and the doors will open. So this one will open like that. It's hard to see. So I'll put this to the side. It doesn't have any hinges on it at the moment. So you can see inside. And I'll just put this down so you can see it better. Put that on the floor. And I'll put this on the floor too. So you can see the rooms in there.
Wow.
So there's going to be 6 little rooms. They're very plain at the moment because I haven't finished them. And in the center, there's going to be a stairway. Whoops, there's going to be a stairway. So it's totally empty at the moment. But soon, if you follow along on my Instagram, you'll see that I'll build it piece by piece. So I like to have people follow along with my projects, and I think people enjoy that, especially when everyone's locked at home and they can't really do much. So so that's kind of a tour. Is there anything else particularly you wanted to know?
No, that was fantastic. Actually, this is the first time for myself. I'm just mesmerized with what you've been doing. Well done, really.
I'm glad you enjoy it.
Yeah,
and I think it's fun. People enjoy following along with the progress of the project. Although I have to say, it's taken me quite some time to do this project because sadly I have to work. So I work full time, and I don't have as much time as I would like to do the project. So it goes quite slowly. So I hope people don't get too impatient.
No, well, yeah, you're the one should be extremely patient with each project.
Yeah,
You're building.
absolutely.
Darling, you can go back and have a seat. I don't want to make you tired. It was fantastic.
Okay, no worries. I'll just turn this around.
People send me a lot of questions. I'm unsure that if we get a chance to go through the questions, but I haven't finished my questions yet. So it's very interesting. So when you want to recreate a house that dates back to like 50 years ago, with all its details, how important is it? For example, to know its history and how much creativity do you use to build that house?
That's a really good question, actually. It's very important to know the history. So I'm glad you asked that, because you can't get it right unless you do lots of research. Because when someone looks at the house, you want them to immediately go, oh, that's a Jacobean house. I can tell that immediately. And if you don't research and understand what Jacobean architecture looks like, you won't really get it right, because you'll kind of make it up. Because I think everyone sort of thinks they know what a certain period of architecture looks like. But actually, it's important to research the details carefully. So I do a lot of research because I want my stuff to be accurate. So yeah, it's kind of a challenge, but I really enjoy it because I learn lots in the process.
Okay, and how much creativity you allow yourself to put on that project?
Well, actually, there is a bit of creativity, because unless I'm copying something exactly, I do have to kind of make it up. So I'll have to look at lots of examples and then make kind of an aggregate of the examples that I've looked at. So often, that can be, I usually don't copy things. I like to make my own. So I very rarely do copies of anything. So yeah, I do use a bit of creativity, but it's creativity that's informed by lots of historical research.
Right. Okay. Well, that's okay. So it's extremely important then. You have to know.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the other thing is, because when you put things out on your Instagram, they're in the public domain, and there are plenty of people out there who know more about what you're doing than you do. They might be historians or whatever, and they'll say, oh, that's not right, and they'll notice those things. So it's important to, make sure that you do it well.
That's what exactly I was going to mention. Yeah. Right. So where do you usually show the project after you completed it? So I know you do it on Instagram, but apart from on Instagram, where else do you usually show? Or what do I do? With things?
I like the process of making the miniatures. Once they're finished, I usually don't keep them. I usually give them to my friends. So I have a few of them kind of on display, like the ones you saw. But I made a French house, a French townhouse with a patisserie in I have seen on my miniatures. And I gave them to my sister for her wedding present. And so she, because she runs a patisserie with her husband, and her husband is a patisserie chef. And so she displays that little patisserie in her real patisserie. So that's kind of.
Is that the house that I saw a picture or photograph of one of your works to say, and the caption is like, "See you later, house"? Is that that one?
Yeah, that's one.
Oh, that one.
Rid of them. I don't keep them. I will keep the plague house though, the 1665 Jacobean house. I will keep that one because I like it. I really like it.
Oh, so, you're putting a lot of effort.
Yeah, I did put in a lot of effort.
And also, sorry.
Sometimes people don't appreciate it. I give them miniature things and they're like, "No, that's good."
They should appreciate it after they're gonna watch this. After they watch this conversation or interview. Why don't you make a contact with the film companies?
Well, that is something I've been thinking about doing actually. And so I do commissions sometimes, but usually I don't have enough time to do commissions because I work full time. But I do have a couple of commissions going on at the moment. So I'm doing one large dollhouse for a lady in America. So that's almost finished. And I'm also I did a commission over the holiday or over the summer period with Christmas, which I guess in Europe is not summer, over the Christmas period. And that was for a museum in Melbourne. So that was for the Australian Centre for the Moving Image, which is called ACME here in Melbourne. And
it's very fantastic, actually.
It's a great museum. So it's all about film and television. And so I did a exhibition for that. I made a lot of tiny furniture for some dioramas that they're going to have in their permanent exhibition. And that was supposed to open in March, but sadly, the coronavirus happened. And so it didn't open, but it's going to be installed in July now. And hopefully it'll open to the public when all the museums open and you can go and see it. But that'll probably be at the end of the year. So.
Right. So the reason that I said, like, if you contact the film companies or, because there are lots of people just using like a blue screen or green screen. So they can use your objects and they will really appreciate it. So rather just giving away to those who really don't appreciate that. At least there's
actually I did make an artist installation that was used for the Venice Biennale in 2016, and it was a big room which was a copy of a palace in Venice. So it was a big room of the palace, and the artist, I made it for an artist who was taking photos, and the photos is what she used. So then I had the model and I didn't know what to do with it, so I actually called up Melbourne University, and the people from the film section of Melbourne University came and got it, and they were like, "Oh, thanks." So I just get them. So I do that sometimes, but I should get more involved in that. I think that would be, in terms of a career direction, I would love to be involved in film and television. I think that would be really cool, do that sort of work. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about doing in the future. But I'm just still, making my skills really good, and so taking it one day.
You're perfect.
So if anyone out there who works in film and television who wants some tiny furniture made for them, they can get in contact with me.
I will in contact with you because I'm a filmmaker.
You want tiny furniture? I'll make you some.
So Emily, well, as you mentioned, so you studied architecture. So I'm sure that studying architecture will make your job much easier. So other than, what do you do to make your work better?
I think it's just a matter of refining your skills and being critical of the work you have done in the past. So looking at and not being content to say, "Oh, that's perfect," but to say, oh, I could improve in this way, or I could do it a little bit better next time. And just every time incrementally trying to make things better. I think that's the best way to improve. So, and architecture has helped me because it's taught me how to research and learn the history of things. So I learned a lot about architectural history. So that's been good.
Okay, sorry. I'm listening to you. There are lots of questions, and
okay.
I picked one of them. So how do we make Swedish chair? Someone asked.
Well, you can go to my website because I actually have tutorials on my website. So a lot of people do contact me and they ask me, how do I make tiny furniture? So what I do is, if you go to my website, which is littlearchitecture.com, and you go to the tutorials page, I put little lessons on exactly how to make things, and I'll show you what materials to buy and how to cut them and how to fit them together. So step-by-step instructions. So you can go there and check it out.
That's very sweet of you, because usually the artists don't share their secrets.
Oh, I want to share it because it's the internet. You know, anything you put on the internet, someone's going to take it and they're going to use it however they want, right? Because it's kind of a public forum. So what I do is I figure, well, I may as well show people how to do this. The trick is, most people can't do it as well as I can.
Yes.
So I'm not worried. So, but I do want to give people a chance to have a go. And you know, I've had people contact me and they've showed me photos and of stuff they've made from my tutorials. And it's great. It's fun. I like it.
All right. So I have to wrap up this conversation. It was such a lovely conversation. I really enjoyed it. Did you like our conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun talking to you. I've never done Instagram Live before, so this is fun.
How was the experience?
It's good. It's funny. I wonder how many people. I wonder who's gonna watch and what people are gonna take away from it. So I hope they enjoyed it.
I'm sure they did, and they will. I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna upload it. The questions keeps coming. I'm sorry, guys. I have to wrap it up.
Send me messages. If they go to my Instagram, they can send me messages. I usually respond to most messages. So if you have a question, I'm happy to answer.
There you go. Okay, it was love. I'll talk to you soon, and it was lovely talking to you. Hopefully, we're living in the same country and city.
We both live in Melbourne. We've got no excuse not to.
Yes, we will. All right, darling, you take care. We will have fantastic time. Bye. Bye-bye, darling. Bye-bye. It was such a lovely conversation with Emily Boutard. So if you're interested to find out more about Emily, please go to her website, and also you can check her works on her Instagram page. You take care, look after yourself, and see you soon. Bye.